Hey, welcome back to the Cedar Porch Homestead. I'm JR and I'm sitting right here in front of our chickens here in my side yard because we are growing out our own meat chickens for our table. And the reason we do that is because of the grocery store is not always telling you all the facts about what you're eating. And here we are, as far as in 2024, we are the sickest we've ever been, I think, in the last 100 years. And why are we so sick as a nation? And well, it really just comes down to mostly your food and what you are eating. Now, unfortunately, there's businesses out there that will put profits over their customers' health. And I'm here to kind of help navigate through some of those labels and let you know that you are being tricked when you go to the grocery store and you buy your chickens. So both me and my wife have degrees in agriculture, so we both have a really good understanding of the industrial ag complex. We understand how food is made and we understand how animals are raised in those confinement feedlots and those kind of situations. And we really wanted to transition away from that into something that was more regenerative, that was not only regenerative for the land itself, but also for the animal, to make that the healthiest animal that you can possibly have. And through that healthy animal, you actually become the healthiest version of you that you can become. Now, for my family, it was so important for us to go into farming, and now we've transitioned out of that farming and we're here in a backyard homestead situation. And from this backyard homestead situation, we plan on transitioning back into farming. And the reason we've done that is because our health is so important for us. Now, my wife, she really went on this journey probably about 22 years ago now, that her health was just struggling as a young woman. And it was really, the medical field really had nothing to do with making her feel better, other than saying, yeah, here's a bunch of prescriptions that you need to take every day for the rest of your life. And she decided right then and there that that was not something that she wanted to do. And well, let's face it, that's not something that anybody wants to do as a young lady or a young man. You don't want to take pills your whole life because you have chronic illnesses. Okay, shameless plug time. My wife is so passionate about the health and what goes into food that she actually became an NTP. She's a nutritional therapy practitioner, and her goal right now is working with women to survive their second puberty or perimenopause. So she's got a free download that I will link in the description below, that ladies, if you want to go ahead and click on that to get your free download, it'll kind of walk you through some steps of thriving through perimenopause, and I will just leave that for you guys. So now that I have that shameless plug over, let me walk you through what your labels at the grocery store are really telling you and what you need to know about going into the grocery store so you are an educated consumer. The first one we're going to talk about is your conventionally raised chicken. Now, these are going to be your whole chickens or your segmented parts of chickens. They're not going to have essentially any labels. They're not going to really even tell you what is in the chicken, other than it is going to be chicken. Okay, so these conventionally raised chickens are going to be in confinement lots. There's going to be thousands upon thousands of birds all crammed together in an enclosed environment. They're going to be fed the cheapest feed possible. The rations are going to be made up of a lot of genetically modified crops, lots of corn, lots of soy. There's going to be most likely antibiotics that are wrapped up in there, with some other things that you probably do not want in your diet. And I will say this again and again, probably throughout this whole video, whatever you're eating becomes you. So if you are eating unhealthy foods, you yourself are going to be unhealthy. There is no paradigm in the world that's going to get you around that fact. Unhealthy food makes you unhealthy. No matter how much you're in the gym, no matter how much you're counting calories, if you're eating a product that is substandard, you yourself are not going to be everything that you need to be or that you could be. Okay, following up with that conventional chicken, you are going to see the organic label. Now, organic does not mean everything that it used to mean. Organic just means, when it's slapped on that label of chicken, it means that they are going to be fed a ration that is organic. Now, way better than the conventionally grown bird. I promise you, because it's not going to be fed genetically modified organisms. A lot of times they're going to have access to outdoors, but for the most part, an organic chicken is still going to be raised in that confinement feed operation. They're going to be on top of each other, but they are going to be fed a healthier ration, and most likely they're not going to be given antibiotics in their feed. That does not mean that they're not going to be vaccinated as chicks. So the vaccinations, if that's an important thing to you, they're still going to have those vaccinations prior to going in that confinement lot as chicks, and that's going to be up to you whether or not that organic label is worth the price for that chicken. Here's a great label right here, free range. Now, what does free range mean? Now, in our mind, we're thinking open fields, open pasture, green grass, but in reality, what free range means when it's slapped on that chicken label is that, well, it has access to outside. Now, the access to outside is going to be really, really small. It's not going to be that picture of pristine pastures that you're thinking of. It's just going to be an outside lot that most chickens in their lifetime aren't even going to take advantage of, because their feed and water is going to be inside. Guess what? A confined feed operation. Still the same thing. They're going to be stacked on top of each other, thousands of birds occupying a very small space. I hate to say this, but when birds occupy the same space over and over and over again, there is a manure that builds up underneath them. And as they scratch through it like chickens do, it aerosols, they breathe it in, and it actually becomes part of that chicken. Now, to really gross you out, have you ever boiled a whole chicken and you pour out that chicken broth at the end and there's a brown or gray tint to it? Well, that's fecal matter that is actually part of their meat, because they've been respirating so much of that in that it is starting to attach itself to their fats. And well, I'll leave it at that because that's gross. Also, with the free range label, you're still not going to get a feed ration that's going to be up to par with a healthy feed ration. It's going to be something, again, that's going to be most likely a genetically modified corn or soy. It's going to have the antibiotics in it. It's going to have a lot of things in that feed that's going to keep that bird alive in those environments. So again, labels can be very, very deceiving. You have to know what you're going to the store and what you're there to buy. So another label that's hit the market in the last couple of years is called pasture raised. Now, this is going to definitely be more along the lines of that iconic picture of those birds out on grasses and out on pastures, and really being as much of a chicken as they can, eating bugs, eating grass, scratching through that forage. Now, unfortunately, the label pasture raised is regulated by the USDA, which means there's a third-party certification level. So again, there's some things there that you really don't know what you're getting, because it doesn't say anything about their feed ration. It doesn't say anything about how those birds are vaccinated or if there's antibiotics in their feed. So you have to be really careful on some of the feeds that, or some of the chickens that you're getting out there that are certified or as far as packaged as pasture raised. So I realize that this is a video that sounds a whole lot of doom and gloom. Like, there's no way that you're going to be able to navigate the grocery store and find the best, healthiest chicken for you. Well, let's make things worse. There's actually some buzzwords out there that are going to be slapped on all these labels that virtually mean nothing. So labels like cage-free, now that is a label that is often going to be on laying hens or for your eggs. However, marketers will put cage-free on your broilers or on your meat chickens, and they do that because they expect you to not be an educated consumer, and it sounds good. So let me go ahead and tell you this. All meat chickens are raised cage-free. Now, they might be raised in confinement, but they are not in tiny cages like some of your laying hens are that produce your eggs. Now, another label that's going to be thrown on there that's going to throw you off is antibiotic free. Now, antibiotic free is great on the label, it looks wonderful, but that still might mean that that bird was vaccinated or given mRNA vaccines or a number of other ways of getting medications in that food that isn't technically antibiotics. Now, natural. Now, we all love the word natural. Like, they put that on absolutely everything. Natural flavors, natural chicken, natural everything. And they can do that because natural means zero. There is nothing that defines what natural is when it comes to the food you consume. So when they put natural on your chicken, they do that just to trick you and to make you feel good about the food that you're buying. Okay, so what's the bottom line? Well, the bottom line really comes down to this. Know where your food comes from. Now, if you have to go and you have to buy your chickens at the grocery store because that's your only option, now, I've given you some tips and tricks to kind of look at the labels and make your best choice, because each one of those is going to have a different price point attached to it. So it's going to be whatever your budget allows and what you want for your own personal health. Now, I will say this, and I've said this in multiple other videos when I talk about where your food comes from, that the money that you decide to save now by getting a lesser product, you're going to spend later in life on medical expenses. And that has been proven time and time again here, especially with the Make America Healthy Again movement and some of the other information that's out there on how your food is actually poisoning you. So we have an epidemic of type 2 diabetes. We have an epidemic of obesity. We have an epidemic of just chronic inflammatory diseases. And I'm not going to go too far into what causes those, but you kind of see what my video is leaning on. So rather than make this a whole bunch of negatives and tell you that there's no way that you can win and that you are just going to be a product of whatever the marketing and the food establishment is going to tell you you're going to be, I'm telling you there's a way to opt out. There is a way to find great food at your fingertips, and there's so many options even online that you can order these things, and that is to know your farmer and know your producer. Now, I'm producing my own chickens on my own backyard. They're not for sale, they're for us. So I'm not here to sell you anything other than the idea that you can eat healthy foods if you do a little bit of legwork. Now, there's a bunch of producers online. There's a bunch of producers that you can look at, and they have open arms to bring people on their farm at any given time because they are proud of the way they're raising their poultry. Now, we do them in these mobile tractors that we move around once to twice a day so that these birds are getting fresh grass their entire lives on a regular basis. They're never taken back over their manure stands. They're never taken over anything that's going to make them sick. So we're able to raise our birds unvaccinated, no antibiotics, and we have healthy, happy birds the entire time. And the reason I bring that up is because when we eventually go back into farming, we're going to be a small producer for our community. So there's a good chance there's a small producer in your community, and you can actually find those people online, on Facebook, doing a little bit of research, word of mouth, whatever it is, to find those people that are producing those birds, either on their small acreage, on their large acreage, but you can decide who and where you buy from. That's one of the biggest perks of our society, is you can always make that vote with your dollar bill, and you can do that by supporting those small suppliers and small producers that are raising humanely grown, beyond organic, healthy birds on their acreage. And by doing that, you are not only propping up your local community, but you're also making yourself healthier. So I hope that you have found this video eye-opening and a little educational and help you navigate those labels a little bit better and know what you're eating. So if you hadn't had a chance to subscribe, do that now. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video and hit that notification bell so you're notified when we come out with new videos. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.